Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of A Hoops Journey. This is going to be a great one with Dani Langford. She works with the Golden State Warriors. What can you say? But there's more to it. There's a story, there's a path, there's hard work, determination, self-doubt, being a woman, having a battle, kind of being married and having kids and struggle, being away from home. There's lots to this episode, and I know you're going to love it. I just wanted to give you guys a shout out and say thank you. Thank you for following the show. Thank you for staying with us. It really does mean so much to me and my son, Carl, our new producer, who's a grad of 2007 from the school that I work at. And he had the unfortunate of being coached by me. And he's a great dude and been, working and editing podcasts for a long time now. And so we're thrilled that he was able to step in and take the role over for Corbs. I know everybody loved their Corbs. And we're looking forward to also having Corbs get on for an episode and just chat with him and talk about why he left and what his life is taking, and get to know Carl. Carl's the most introverted person you'll ever meet, but I will make sure that he says at least 50 words. You're going to enjoy this episode. Don't forget, like and subscribe. But this one is not about like, subscribe, and share. It's about you, the listeners. If you've listened to an episode or shared one, or if you're one of the people that consistently message us and say thanks, or, hey, that was great, or here's what you should do. We appreciate you. We see you. We're thankful for you. We're grateful for you. We know that we've had people that literally have listened to all 108 or 7 episodes that we've had. And that is mind-blowing to us. And we appreciate you. So enjoy this one. Dani it's crazy. Her story's nuts, man. Where she's gone, what she's done, success at every single level, and then gets to wake up every day working with the Golden State Warriors is something you won't hear very often. Enjoy it, and much love. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to A Hoops Journey. To say that this episode has taken a while to connect would be an understatement, but the timing is right. Both our partners are away traveling. It's a Saturday night. That's what life has come to, recording a podcast. We've got laundry in the background in one room. We just finished watching Heat Celtics Game 6, which was absolutely wild. Where do I begin with this story? We've had her dad on the podcast. She is a provincial champion, an MVP, a national champion, an MVP of the national championship game on an undefeated team that also is in the Basketball BC Hall of Fame, and has now got a phenomenal career working with the Golden State Warriors. And there's going to be so many angles and ways to take this today. And you can probably appreciate, if you know anything about an NBA life and juggling that also as a mom and a wife, that it takes time to find time to sit down with some guy and talk basketball. But we are so privileged to have Miss Langford with us today. How are you?
I'm doing great.
It's been a long time coming. You even Instagrammed, video called me after you were at the White House. That's how big time you are, to apologize about not being able to get the podcast. That's your life. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I've had a little bit of downtime, and it's been go for 2 years. So Thank you very much for having me on. And again, I apologize for the delay in the back and forth and making this happen, but now we're making it happen, which is great.
We are. And it's our pleasure. And just quickly, a quick perspective, going from first year and like winning the title, which is like, my God, and then seeing the expectations and those things, and obviously not reaching, every team wants to win the championship and not being able to get there. What are your personal reflections on it? Obviously, your job is huge in terms of keeping the guys healthy, making sure that they're ready to go, giving the yes or no, whatever that is. But what a crazy 730 days you've had involved. I mean, it's not the exact number, but being involved with the Warriors, it's pretty crazy. Hey?
Definitely. I think, and I'm very aware that in your first year in the NBA, having the opportunity to work for a franchise like the Warriors is an incredible opportunity. And to step into the legacy that's continuing and that exists is a very special thing. So I don't take for granted the fact that we did win in my first year, and this year had its ups and its downs, but it was still incredible in its own ways as well. And so for me, it's a lot around who I work with, my colleagues. That includes the coaches, that includes medical staff, that includes the players. So those connections and those relationships are still there, whether there's wins or losses. And so it was still an incredible year where I continue to learn an absolute ton in my second year. And I look forward to my third year next year.
Awesome. And how's our guy Jamma?
Jamma's great.
Love that guy.
Jamma's great. We last year on my first day there, we said hi and introduced. I hadn't met him yet, but we knew so many common people that through playing kind of tandem at UBC and then through the Raptors and different people. And so gave him a hug and we're like, we basically know each other through other people. So, but Jamma's great. It's been great to connect with him and be able to work alongside him for sure.
Awesome. And like you said at the start here, I mean, we were laughing about how long it's been, but I mean, we've said this on the show many times, like I'm a teacher, a coach, and a dad. You have a full-time job. You're a wife and a mom. And so trying to find time and space to sit down with people and do this is hard. So we laugh about that. But how has it been? I mean, you never want the season to end early, but you've been able to, like we said offline here, you're like, I had a really good sleep last night. Like you're recovering and recuperating and getting to be with the people that mean the most to you. So that must at least be nice. Hey?
Absolutely. It's last year was the parade was on the 23rd or 24th of June. And then I came back up to Vancouver and moved the family down. So there was, and then we started back up again. And then we were in Japan, we were in Tokyo to start the season. So it's been go. And the last 10 days or so, I've definitely had some downtime. And I feel like I've been doing a lot of writing, to be honest, to try to get thoughts out, to reflect, to kind of process a little bit everything that's been happening, both career-wise and as a mom and as a wife. And so trying to organize some thoughts around all of that now that there's more time to think, I think.
Have you always journaled?
I have.
Really?
I do a lot. I now, and sporadically, I'm not going to say like every day, but I try to take snapshots of either significant events that happen or just check-in moments. I don't reread my journal a ton, I would say, to be honest. It's more of a download, I think. And I'll sometimes I'll reread it, but that I don't think that's as much of the purpose. It's more of kind of getting ideas out and downloading.
And do you feel like that's just more of like a emotional, mental thing? Like I've just, in the last couple of years, I've started to meditate and things like that. And I've found it very like comforting and good. And even if it's 5 minutes, is that just sort of it's off the chest and now you're got a clear mind kind of thing? I'm intrigued. I think it's great. I'm terrible at writing and reading. And so when I hear someone that likes it, it piques my interest. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's evolved from just ideas to sometimes I mind map and web. Like my mind likes to create. Yeah, my mind likes to create, whether it's programming and we'll kind of get into probably some of that stuff later. But I just have a lot of ideas that flow, and so sometimes I'll mind map, sometimes I'll write lists of ideas, and I enjoy it, and it is, like I said, it is a download piece, but it helps make me feel a little bit lighter and maybe a little bit more organized.
The hamster wheel.
Exactly.
Very tired. Hey. Yeah. Well, let's get right into it. Thanks for being with us. You've got uncle who has refereed for a long time, long enough that I believe I was in high school and still in college that he was refereeing. You have another uncle who just won a provincial championship, which is phenomenal, and very cool and well-deserved. And they've been working so hard. And then obviously the connection with your dad. And so you come from a bit of a basketball family. Just talk about your experience as a young person, growing up, what life was like and why basketball. Maybe you didn't have a choice, maybe you did, but how it sort of started to come into your life and why you love the game.
So my dad coached when I was born. So I was born as a coach's daughter. And
Don't say the year. Don't say the year. It's fine.
And I grew up in a gym a lot, crawling around with the basketball. And there's lots of pictures of me rolling around with a ball and crawling around the ground. Most of our family trips were team road trips going to different places. So even though I was an only child, I never really felt lonely or didn't really feel like I was an only child. I felt like I had 12 to 15 sisters, older sisters constantly.
I love that.
So yeah, I have fond memories of the gym and it was always me asking to go, I believe. So when people say like, were you forced or did you have to go? There was none of that. It was always me asking to go. And it was a happy place. Like you said, a lot of my family was often there. So it's kind of where I felt like I belonged. And those were the young days of just being on the sidelines. I used to shoot hoops on those chin-up bars that
yeah, oh yeah,
on the
of course.
side. So yeah. I used to shoot hoops on those before I could.
Very easy way to get buckets too. It's very wide, it's like lots of success on those things. Yeah,
exactly. So I used to do that, dribble on the sidelines, slide around in my socks. That was kind of how I grew up for sure. So when I was in elementary school, I played lots of different sports though. I did volleyball, I did cross country, I did track, I did handball. Did basketball, obviously. So I did do a wide range of sports when I was younger and had exposure to all of that. But I spent a lot of time in a basketball gym for sure.
Did you just drop handball on us?
Handball's great.
Low key, great sport.
Favorite. It's the same as basketball, really.
One of my favorite sports to teach in PE.
Yeah.
It's so good. Love it.
I loved it.
That's awesome. And then, so obviously, very early 2000s, literally 2000, you're playing high school ball, you're with a program that's pretty developed. You have some great years. Like talk about sort of your high school experience, your love for the game and kind of just when you thought maybe it was even earlier that you thought like, this is something I want to do after high school as well, but talk about those experiences and the people that you were around were phenomenal. So blessed and just awesome. Yeah.
I think my dad did a really good job. Like I used to, instead of going trick-or-treating, I would go up to Halloween games and my dad would trick-or-treat up the mountain in Burnaby. We'd stop at a couple of the townhouses and then we'd go watch an SFU game. So
awesome,
I had the opportunity to see Andrea Schneider was a huge mentor of mine, Michelle Hendry. So I watched amazing. All of them. So I had that visual very young of playing university basketball. And for me, things probably got more serious. Like in grade 8, I actually went to Mowat in grade 8. I was in French immersion and we had five coaches' daughters on that team and went undefeated in grade 8. Now, they didn't have provincials or anything back then, but I don't think they had provincials. Anyways, we went undefeated where however far we could make Fraser Valleys or whatnot.
Yeah.
But that was a great group of girlfriends and a great group of kids. But I left there in grade 9 to go join Heritage Park where my dad was. And obviously Teresa, who was like my big sister then, was at Heritage along with Mike Miller, Mike McNeil was there, Frank Chan, my dad. So there was definite, as we know, a definite basketball hub and a wonderful culture, which I don't think I knew at the time. Like when you're in it, you don't know any different. You just go to the gym, you do what you do. We would wake up at like 5:15 to be there for 6:00 and the bell rang at 8, something like that. So we'd be there for an hour and a half every day, all year long before. Before school started, we'd have Sunday morning open gyms, which ended up being like 4 hours of Teresa just wouldn't let us leave the gym really. So we'd play an hour of scrimmage, guys and girls. Then we play California kickball. Then we played volleyball. Then we'd cycle back again. And then we'd play another couple hours of scrimmaging, just live play. So I think it was very special. And
back
it was
when life was easy, man.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a very special environment. And you don't appreciate it when it's just what you do day to day. But it was fun. It was enjoyable. It was productive. We were focused and got stuff done. But we all wanted to be there. So it was a first exposure to a good environment, good culture, and a winning culture of what it kind of takes to win. So that was high school for me. And as we know, Kim Smith, Julia Wilson, Katja Fuse, Sarah Stroh, Lisa Sigurdsson, all that crew followed after me. Like I was between Teresa and that younger crew that then also won high school championships and stuff after I left. So
nowadays it's like, if you want to have a bunch of kids playing kickball in the gym, you need like 40 pages of waiver forms and all this BS, right? Like don't take that for granted. Like it's so different now. Like I'm a high school, but I open the gym a lot and just let the kids run around too. But it's very rare where that happens anymore. Like it's just not a regular situation for people, you know?
Yeah,
and sad. Sucks.
It's sad. It is sad. And it was, like I said, organically, like we played with the guys, we played with our coaches, like Miller, Chan, like Mike McNeil used to play with us. Like,
no way.
Yeah, we got to guard him and it was outstanding. It was very special. I'm very fortunate for it. We all, I don't know if my dad talked about, actually, I think he did, about Shibumi on the podcast when I listened to it. And that was a big piece of what everybody played with and strived under. And so we all had a common language, common goals, and common etiquette of how we kind of ran our lives, really.
I loved your dad's episode, by the way. What a character. I was like, this is awesome. Because I like brief interactions with him before, right? But just to get to know him a little bit more, and the things that he said about sort of just kind of talking about being uncomfortable in situations and recruiting. Like sometimes, maybe someone would make assumptions that he's crusty or like not a nice guy, but it's like, I just felt, I thought his episode was really great, and it was cool to connect with him and learn more about him, because I thought it was awesome. And I could see like just the character behind, like the little themes and things are awesome. Yeah. I thought it was cool. Yeah. Great guy.
You did a great job of letting him tell his story, as you've done with many people. And yeah, because he's got a lot of layers to him. And very different upbringing than I had and whatnot, as well as, with the moving and everything. So yes, you did a very good job of letting him kind of share that.
Oh, thanks. He also went from his laptop to his iPad because the Wi-Fi. Yeah, we had some technical things too. It was awesome. Yeah, but he did better than most. Most people in his genre of age, like we've had some struggles. He did really well. So he knows what's up.
He's a tech guy for sure.
Yeah. So okay, so tell me more. Like the provincials. Like, how does all that work? Was anything but SFU a thought? Like, was there someone else? Like, how do you figure out what you're going to do? You're brushing past all this like success and it's kind of weird now too, when you think about it, like what is Heritage Park? Did they combine with someone that's another school, right? Nope.
Not that I'm aware of. No, yeah. I think it's still, unless it's
still there,
become a middle school.
Right.
I should probably know the answer to that, but I don't.
That's okay. I should probably too, but I don't either. So was there anybody other than SFU? No.
Well, nobody really recruited me, jokingly. Like,
say less. For
I
real?
remember like UVic, like people would talk to my dad and would say, like, is there a point? Like, should we try to talk to her?
Okay.
Like, because like
that's fair.
Mike and Allison were really like, Allison was like my surrogate mom at that stage, really, like as well. Like I was around the gym and they were great to me throughout my career.
Let's talk about Allison and why she won't get on the podcast for one, but let's talk about her, like the mentorship. Like, let's dive into that. I think she's phenomenal. Would love to get her on. She's already told me she doesn't have a story to tell. And I'm like, are you kidding me? But anyways, yeah.
That's not true.
Like, right. But just talk about that. Like, I mean, now you realize it, but you probably didn't realize how spoiled you were walking into those gyms. Like, literally have Alison McNeil, you know?
Yeah. I was very fortunate because I had Mike McNeil as well. So
Yeah.
especially when I went and I knew them far before I went to Heritage Park. But I was fortunate. I would have Alison would come and recruit and check out other players. But I felt so comfortable that I'd go up and chat with her each day. Like, I don't see that as a barrier. And when you first kind of said that, it just kind of dawned on me in this moment, to be honest, that even when I was young, like a lot of people probably would have been scared to go up and talk to Alison, but I wasn't. And she was very kind to me and provided a ton of opportunities. And I am grateful for it. And I did, I whether it was at basketball camps and I got to know the SFU players from that. And that created a possibility and a vision of my head of what I wanted to do and where I wanted to play. So there probably wasn't a question. I went up for my recruiting visit with Alison. We went for lunch at the Diamond Club and she went to kind of propose what the offer was. And I was like, okay, so like, when do I sign? And she's like, oh, you've decided? And I was like, of course I've decided. What are we talking about? So no, I always had the vision of it, and things altered and changed from the vision of what I thought, because when I signed, we were NAI. And then by the time it was August, I got a call from Alison saying we switched to the CIS. And so things shifted from where the league I thought I was going to be playing in. And then again, the story evolved, but yes, as a young kid growing up, that was an incredible, mentor to have and somebody looking out for me for sure.
I remember my dad taking me up to watch Michelle and Andrea, like, and the gym was packed. Don't get it twisted. Like, it was loaded in there for some of those games, those big games. Like,
great atmosphere.
I'll never forget my dad. He always loved singing the national anthem like really loud, and I get so embarrassed. But then I looked around and I'm like, there's lots of people in here. Maybe they won't hear him, but he just had a really loud voice. But okay, so you touched on it. Like, what a weird, interesting time that you had at SFU, right? Going from what you think is going to be American competition, going down, Western and all those schools, Lewis and Clark, to, okay, now we're CIS, which is now U Sport. But did that change anything for you? Or was it just like, I'm committed and I'm in and let's go for it? And then talk about your time there. And I mean, obviously, lots of success and great years for sure.
Yeah, we had some surprises for sure. I think anytime, like coming in as a rookie, I sprained my ankle on our last scrimmage before our first practice. I was on crutches for 2 weeks and I was out for 3 months. So you're living by yourself. You're on crutches. Like, that's up on the hill, all the way to residence. That's a far walk on crutches.
It is. That's deep. Yeah.
We just had our induction ceremony to the Burnaby Hall of Fame, and I flew back up to see some of the girls, and Devin Campbell was there, and she's like, do you remember the time when you sprained your ankle and you pivoted on your crutches and you slipped and your cereal went all over the floor and you just sat on the ground and you just started crying? And I was like, I remember that very well, actually. So that wasn't how I wanted to start my rookie year by any means. And then there was challenges. We had a very tough schedule. Even if we had tried to make playoffs, they wouldn't let us host a playoff game. Everyone was kind of out to get us in the Canadian League for sure, having just come over from the American League. So there was lots of ups and downs in that first year for sure. And then it was a surprise to all of us that Alison ended up leaving and going to Oregon and helping out Bev. So that year, in the summer, I played the last year of U19s for the Canada Summer Games.
So fun.
And that's one of my fondest memories, like that start of that summer. So that would have been, I guess, 2001, I want to say, the summer of, something like that. That was an important summer because that helped revitalize some things for sure after coming off that first year a little bit. And one of my favorite memories is BC playing against Ontario in Ontario and winning gold. And because they had all sorts, they had Shona Thorburn, they had a bunch of girls. I don't remember everyone's names, to be honest, but that were down playing in the States. And there wasn't a ton of Canadians back then that necessarily like from BC that didn't. We had Ashley Burke that had gone down, but Darcy was down there, I think. Darcy wasn't on that team. Sorry, she was on the year before. Anyways, we didn't have very many at all. And they had a bunch and people that were involved in the national team programs. So this was the first year, I think, that they gathered them all to play, and us beating them was outstanding. It felt really good.
It always felt good to beat Ontario, for sure. Yeah.
100%.
If you're a basketball player out there in the Lower Mainland or BC in general, and you're looking for somewhere to play, we have a proud sponsor, and that's PGC Hoops. You can find them at pgchoops.ca. And the thing that makes them unique and that we're proud to sponsor them and them be a sponsor of us is it's a true nonprofit basketball organization found in the east side of Vancouver. The mission is cost-effective elite basketball for all. Find the website, take a look, register your kids, register yourself, look for the programs. And if you have any questions, reach out to me and we can contact you with the right people. This is a good program for the right reasons. We appreciate you, PGC Basketball. U19 was so cool. I loved it too, like as a player. It was fun. Just and the competition was high, right? Like you're talking about people that have had a year, right? It was good. Yeah, I wish they still had it. I think they do like a U18. I don't know. It's all confusing now with club and everything, but
that's a piece I feel like that's a bit of a shame that's been lost. Like before it was the best players in the province would go represent their province, and it was an honor. Like it was incredible to do. And I think club has obviously made that more of a challenge these days. And they don't have Canadian, like all the sports and everything at that level either. Like I think rugby back then was like, I don't know, U23 or something. Like it was good competition and good sport within Canada for sure. So it was kind of special to be a part of the last year of that as well.
Where was that? Do you remember?
London. I think it was in London, Ontario.
Oh, so you beat Ontario in Ontario.
In Ontario, exactly. Yes,
Even
it was
better.
Loud as can be.
Even awesome. Better.
Yes, yes. I'm pretty sure it was London, Ontario. I think it was McMaster's in London, right? Is that McMaster?
McMaster's Hamilton.
Oh, Hamilton. What's in What's London?
Well, here we go. Windsor.
Oh, I should.
You sound like arrogant West Coasters now.
I know. Well, Stu Julius. Where did he coach? Laurier.
Wilfrid Laurier.
I think that's in London, potentially. We might need to edit out this whole piece, by the way.
Love it. Awesome. All right. So after that U19 year, moving forward, things get even weirder, but lots of success, lots of great teams. Like you said, I think I said Basketball BC Hall of Fame. I mean, if you're not in there already, it should be more than Burnaby. Come on now. Were you guys like 35-0?
Yeah, we had two teams that were 35-0. My second year and then my fifth year at SFU. Yeah.
And then how many losses in between those other years?
So second year was undefeated. Third year, we were undefeated until the semis, like Jessica Kazuka's year. So we were undefeated until the semis. So I don't
love
know.
These names.
That was 35-0. That would have been like 33-ish in a row. So we would have been in the 80s of consecutive wins, I want to say. Fourth year, we can skip that year. And then the fifth year was undefeated again.
Why we want to skip that year? No, I'm just kidding.
Because you asked about wins, and there wasn't as many wins in that year as the other years.
That's okay.
It is building and learning, and those are what creates the adversity of that year. Help to get us prepared for the next year and create the hunger for the next year. So you're 100% right. But yeah, the fourth year was a little bit more of a challenge for sure.
Mm-hmm. And so say more about it. Like you're in your fourth, fifth year, things are going well. Are you thinking like, I want to play pro ball, I want to move on with school, I don't know what the heck to do with my life? What's your thought process? Or are you just enjoying university life and kicking ass and taking numbers?
No, I knew that I
The
wanted to
hamster
be a
wheel had already planned life. So up till 40 at this point.
We'll talk
I
about
knew every day of my life. And
I knew when I was about, I don't know, 10 or 11, probably something like that I wanted to be a physio.
Okay. We've chatted a little bit, but it's all making sense here now. Holy smokes. Why? Okay. So why 10 and 11?
I just got exposed to when I played, I went to see a physio named Greg Bay in Abbotsford. He's amazing. He's still a mentor. I still call him to this day, and he still has time for me. And he's the reason why I wanted to become a physio. So he let me continue doing my passion and what I wanted to do. And I wanted to do that for other people. My parents, not necessarily my parents, but a lot of people, wanted me to become a coach. Everyone wanted me to pick up after my dad. And I knew that if I ever wanted to coach my kids, I could still do that, but I can't do physio on the side. So I wanted to go to school for that first, and then go from there. So once I was done my fifth year, I had thought I was retired, and I was going to help assistant coach my dad while we kind of figured stuff out. But Stu Julius actually convinced me to try out for the University Games, FISU Games team. They were playing in Izmir in Turkey. So he got me to come out for like the open tryout or whatnot. And then I ended up going and making that, which was an incredible experience. I'm very happy that he convinced me to do that. And so then once I was done,
any guests that were on the FISU have said really good things about it. Like they had a really good time and enjoyed it. And
it was incredible. It was very cool. The opening ceremonies in there and just wearing the Canadian flag, it was very, very cool.
Awesome.
So then after that, that's when I was like, okay, no, now I'm retiring. Now I'm done. And so then I was assistant coaching for my dad. But we knew that I wanted to do physio schools. So we started to look into some of them. I went to UBC to go chat with their academic advisor. They said that there's 35 spots for physiotherapy at that point. I came back to my dad's office. I started crying and saying, I'm never going to be a physio. I was a hard worker, but I didn't have grades. They basically ranked your grades and they didn't really talk to you and see who you were as a person. It was just a number.
So annoying.
And there was no way that I was getting an interview. So I was in tears and he said, oh yeah, you'll be a physio. He's like, just not close apparently. So we went and we looked at different schools and Curtin University came up. It was in Perth, Australia.
Sounds like your dad. Yeah.
No, he was very factual about it. But as we looked at it, we found Curtin and it sounded like me to a T. And so he said, well, where's Curtin? Yeah. He's like, where's Curtin? And we looked it up and it was in Perth, Australia, as far as you could possibly get away. Which wasn't good. I went home in the summer. I'm an only child. My dad coached. I had not been away from family at all. I did laundry on the weekends.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, really? When you would go home. Hey, yeah.
Oh yeah. I'd have Sunday dinner. I was not far. So yeah, Australia was far. And then when I looked into it though, I found out how good of a school it was and how there was a Canadian link that people would go to it. And it was an incredible school. So I found out the due date for the application was in 4 days. So we basically walked over to the registrar, my dad and I right there, got my application done, put everything in, mailed it off, found out a month later that I was moving to Australia and that I got in and I was moving to Australia 2 months after that. So that's when that adventure started in Australia.
Holy smokes. No, okay. We have to pause for a second. I just want to know, how was it playing for your dad? What was that relationship like? How did that go?
I think it probably starts off, or this shares a little bit of it. If I share, so my dad wasn't going to apply for the job at SFU. And he mentioned a little bit of this, I think, on his episode, but but I made him up. I actually put his application in for him. I said, on the day it was due, I said, have you put your application? He said, no. And he showed me the envelope and it was sitting right there. And I'm like, well, what are you doing? The office closes in like a half an hour. So he drove from my residence over across campus to go, and I put it in for him and said to him, look, I said, if you decide you don't want to, that's fine. I said, but you have to be like quality assurance here. I said, if you don't apply, who could we get that would coach me? I said, if you do apply, they have to keep the standard up of somebody that's won this many high school championships, this many provincial teams, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I did it, is from a quality assurance standpoint. And we know that he was kind of the second choice and it all ended up working out. But that's how kind of him coaching me at that level was. He understood me very well. So he was definitely a comfort zone piece. I understood him. So when he used to go ask me to go tell the ref, I shouldn't use the language that he used, but go ask the ref why the beep beep, is he making this beep beep call, and tell him to do different things. I would just be like, okay. And I go talk to the ref about something else and then come back to my dad and talk to him. And he's like, what did he say? I'm like, yeah, don't worry about
you want to hear. Yeah.
So I was a buffer a little bit, I think.
Back when captains were actually allowed to talk to refs. Now captains are just not a thing anymore.
Oh, really?
Like there's no handshake before the game. Oh, no. Like it's nothing. Yep. No.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Like if you have captains at the high school level, they're just whatever you want to do with them internally in your own culture and program. Like there's no,
Is that from what's the reasoning for that?
I'm not totally sure, to be honest. I don't know if FIBA has a thing about it, but yeah, we have modified, like we're combo FIBA rules. It's kind of weird, but yeah, there's no like a kid is not allowed to be like, excuse me, sir or ma'am. Like, there's just like, no handshakes, no.
Really? I think that's a good life lesson to learn how to talk to a ref properly. That's actually a good skill.
I agree. So then as a coach, like at the high school level, it's like, okay, we have these captains. How do we find value in them? And, like we let our kids vote and they pick the captains, and we still work with them. We talk about what a captain looks like, but it becomes more of a floor game management thing than it does anything else, right? It's interesting. So
interesting.
Yeah. Sidebar for you there. So then your dad's like telling you to swear at the refs, and that was about it. Like it just worked well. It was good. Yeah.
No, like I said, he knew me well. He knew I'm lucky again there's a lot of players these days and young athletes that dread the drive home because of the state of youth sports and where it's gotten to, and parents' involvement in different things. I used to be calmed down by my drives. I was nervous. I remember this was more in high school, but I was nervous, and we were playing against New West, and the coach that used to do a bunch of different junk defenses and whatnot. So I was like, I'm nervous. Like, I don't know what he's going to pull out, what he's going to do. And he looks at me, he's like, if we hit 10 threes, we're fine. You hit 3 or 4, so-and-so will hit 3 or 4. Like, and I looked at him, 10. I'm like, oh, we can do that. I'm like, that's good. Okay. Like he just knew kind of what to say, and knew how much to push buttons, and then when to kind of give space and whatnot as well.
Love it. All right. So we go to the home of Vegemite, all the way to Aussie land. How does that go? What's that like? You talked about being a homebody, Abbey life, going home on the weekends and then doing that as a young woman. Like how, what were the hards, the goods, the in-betweens, and what did you learn? And obviously it was worth it. It was a great school. And yeah.
For sure. It was the first big, actually, I guess there was 2. Me going to Heritage Park was probably my first out of my comfort zone a little. I knew the Heritage Park people, but leaving my cohort of very close friends and high school friends was big. So that was my first kind of leap. But this was my second leap. Again, going to university wasn't a leap for me because I knew it. I was familiar with it. Sure. But going to university for my master's across the world was. And I probably lost a bit of my identity in that too. Nobody knew I played basketball. Nobody cared I played basketball. I wasn't wasn't there. I ended up playing basketball there, but that was just a side fun bar. It wasn't my identity of who I was. So it was the first time I was by myself on the other side of the world with nobody linking me to basketball. So it was interesting. Again, like the programming was very good. Our class was fantastic. We had 24 people, 8 of them. I was
going to say, was it small? Yeah.
Yeah. It was a graduate entry master's. So there were 24 of us, 8 of us were from Canada, 8 people from
really?
Perth. Yeah. And then there was 8 others that were international from around. So everyone kind of supported everybody. Age ranged from like 18 years old to 41 years old. There's somebody that had a second career sort of thing. So that was a pretty special group as well. Cool. And I still keep in touch with people from there. Very, very cool group of people for sure.
It's awesome. How was Australia?
I loved it. I almost stayed. Perth is beautiful. There's a lot of water between the 2 rivers. And the coast, obviously, with the beaches, it gave me a different definition of what a beach was as well. While I was there, for sure. And again, like I played a little bit of basketball when I was there. I played for a club team initially when I was searching, because I was like, this will be a good way to connect with people, socialize, and have something other than school. But the coach it wasn't fun, actually. There was yelling involved, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I don't need this. I've retired. Like, I don't need this. And so I retired again. And then I was at the gym one day, and somebody recognized me from that team and said, oh, you played point guard, didn't you? Da, da, da. I was like, yeah. And I'm like, but I'm done now. Like, I don't need to play. And she's like, well, our point guard just did their ACL. Do you mind coming like out for a run? And this lady was like 30 something. And
you're how old?
I was 23, 24.
Yeah.
And so she was like, she's like, it's different. She's like, there's a bunch of old ladies. She's like, we have an Opals player that used to play. And then there was a player that would currently played for the Opals as well. Anyway, she's like, just come for a run. Just come check it out. They were awesome. They were a bunch of, again, we had 16 to 38 was the oldest one that played.
Wow.
But it was a great group of women that were just kind of there for fun. They knew what it was about. That's what I liked about the Australian system, was the club system. That was the state basketball league that I played in. So it was good basketball, and mentoring that happened from a 38-year-old playing with a girl that's just coming out of high school that's looking to play and overseas in the US and trying to get contracts over there. So it was a very unique system to see the mentoring and to see the energy preservation, but the smarts, and then they have the energy, but don't know what they're doing on the court, mixing together. Cool.
Yeah, I think we're lacking in BC huge mentorship for a bunch of reasons. I think there's like a club battle a bit. I think we need to find a way to just have like people that have been coaching for a while and just say, hey, like, we'll come to my practice. Like it's so big. And no matter what career you choose, coaching, physio, teaching, doesn't matter. Like, mentors are ginormous, right? And one of the things I want to try to improve here is definitely finding a way to have people just let their guard down and open the doors and say, come to our practice, or figure it out, right? Yeah. Such a big thing. And I'm sure you felt that in your whole life. Yeah.
We mentors are huge to me, and my group of mentors that I've had from a physio standpoint, from a female athlete standpoint, it is, I'm very fortunate for it, and I'm very grateful for it. That those are relationships. One of my mentors said that and one of the themes I would say life-wise that I try to go by is surrounding yourself by people who enhance your life. And so I specifically try to, I understand that mentors don't owe me anything, because I believe that there's been a bit of a shift now that somebody's like, you're my mentor and you need to give me information.
Yeah.
And I don't believe in that. But I believe in making connections and preserving those connections and being grateful for them. And if anyone, I joke about, if anyone's ever kind of my mentor, I can be a little bit annoying in the sense that I don't let that connection go. I check on them. I say, how you're doing. I've said on another podcast before, like, on International Mentorship Day, I'll send a note saying thank you. So I am very fortunate with that. At SFU, we tried to do with some of the alumni. It's called Impact. So individuals mentoring our alumni, connecting with our
connecting together. I was trying to put the impact.
Yes. So individual mentors, players, and alumni connecting together is Impact.
Yeah.
So because we looked at our alumni, and I'm like, we have a group of incredible people who have traveled the world, played at all sorts of different levels, career-wise are doing all sorts of different cool things, and we need to create open channels and ability for people to reach out. So Brittany Fraser has done an amazing job with kind of continuing that. I'm an ideas person and like to start the pieces, and then I got busy. So Brittany's helped with that. But as you talk about trying to create avenues for people to just have discussions and share stories, because that is where young people, that's where you get a vision from. If you can kind of see someone else do it and hear their story, then you can think that, well, this is potential that I could do this if that's of interest for them. So I agree. Mentoring is huge. I think you just have to go about it the right way. And I've had different people reach out with my new job and everything here. And I feel like this generation has changed maybe a little bit, because I'll have questions like, or I had somebody kind of reach out and say, can we connect? And they're like, well, we don't really have time to connect on the phone, so can you just answer these questions? And they typed me kind of a bunch of questions. Which again, if we make time, like we will make time, it just might not happen like right when they're wanting it to happen. But a conversation,
I can't relate to that at all, dealing with you. Yeah.
A conversation to me is far more of a connection, something I'd love to do, as opposed to type in a Word document answering these questions. So I feel like things have changed maybe a little bit on that front, and I'm a bit old school with the mentoring philosophy around pieces, but I want to share as much as I can. And I owe that information because of the amazing mentors that have shared with me. So I need to do a better job and kind of continue to try to do that more.
As we say on this show often, 9:09 on a Saturday, we're going to church here. She's taking us to church with all this. This is great. I love it. And you are correct. That's not old school. How can you possibly have a mentor that you don't actually physically connect with, or just like even on the phone? Like you can't, how do you get mentorship through an email or a reply? Like that just doesn't happen. And it's awesome that you're willing to say like, sorry, these are great questions, but let's find a time in 3 months to talk about it, or I'll figure it out and we can talk on the phone while I'm waiting for to fly back on this road trip or whatever it is. But, Australia wraps up, and then tell us about the next phase in your life. Like where does someone apply? How does the ball roll? What do we do? So you finish this degree, right? I'm in Perth. I feel like I maybe want to stay and surf and do whatever, but how do you take the next phase in life and go from there?
So I came back and I actually started coaching again, because I couldn't work right away because I had to do some Canadian boards and everything coming back from Australia. So there was a delay in that process. So I came back and helped SFU out again, assist coaching wise. And then I started to, so Greg Bay, who was my mentor and the reason why he was the first person I wanted to work for when I first came back. So I worked in Abbotsford for him and his wife, Jen Bay, who's amazing as well. So I worked there initially. And then I started getting into Pilates, actually, because in Australia, Pilates is a big portion of core and how the Australians teach that. And so I started doing my Pilates training and eventually ended up at Treloar Physiotherapy, who Deb Treloar and Carol Kennedy and Bill Treloar are the owners, and it's a family feel and amazing mentors again. They invested a lot of time in me, and I still have connections. Like I said, I talked to Deb quite recently. Unfortunately, Carol passed away just recently, but I used to talk to her even up to recently as well. So she will be massively missed, and she's been incredible in many, many physios' lives. But then I, from there, went to Fortius, and that was Rick Celibrini. And Rick gave me my first vision of the type of physio that I wanted to be, even before I went to physio school. So him and
what does that mean?
Him and Steve Nash were working up at SFU in the gym, and they had a treatment table. And so Rick would treat him, and then they would get up and they would relate right onto the court what kind of they were trying to get, what their effect, physiological changes that they were wanting to do to the body. And then they would take it and they do some exercise, and then they put a basketball in his hand and they'd relate it right to the court. So that was the first exposure that I saw.
Makes sense, hey?
Of what I wanted to do. So I went up to him, and I've told this story on a podcast before, but I went up to him and I said, can I ask you a few questions? And Rick stepped back and Steve Nash stepped forward. And I said, sorry, Steve, I'm actually talking about Rick. Can I ask him a few questions? And so Rick was surprised and came forward, and I got his email then. And the significance of that was, again, as a mentor, you have different mentors throughout your life that share knowledge, that open doors for you, that create opportunities. And Rick was definitely one of those. And he brought me to Fortius. And a lot of things changed kind of in my career path coming to Fortius. And then fast forwarding to now, he's who brought me to Golden State Warriors as well. And that I'm grateful for that. So.
In case you didn't know, our second sponsor, ATO Basketball, aka ATO B-Ball, located directly at the Langley Event Center in British Columbia. This place has everything you need. I swear, if you walk in and you're a hoop head, there's nothing you won't be able to find. Sale items, Jordan, Adidas, Puma, you name it. The brands are all there. Shoes, jerseys, retro, current, Vancouver Bandits. You can even get every basketball you name. Shout out to our boy Jeff at ATO B-Ball for willing to be a sponsor to us. Go check them out. Check the store, mention us, and who knows, you might find yourself lucky. Thanks to ATO B-Ball. I love it because I think too, like I had microfracture knee surgery back in the day. Like I think Amari, like Penny Hardaway were the only ones. And my buddy Jake McCallum, who he was friends with Tyler Wallace, who was like a trainer for the Suns, and he sent me Amari's thing. So like I got the microfracture, and like God bless, like, is it McKechnie? He did it. Alex did it, right? And it was kind of just like no weight bearing, do this. And then he sent me like Amari's program. It was like on the bike and like just a couple things like sliding my leg on the ground to get my mobility back. And then, so it's just interesting to like that progressive thinking, right? Because I don't know, like growing up as a basketball player, sometimes I'd go to physio and I'm like, am I really paying for this? Like, what am I doing? Like I'm doing these very basic things with some gel and then some stretches. And then I think, Rick and Steve obviously had a great connection. And then when you saw Steve for who he was as a person, just this little white dude, and the longevity that he had because his body was able to keep up, I mean, wow. And that's so dope that you flexed on Steve Nash and said, actually, I want to talk to Ricky boy here. That's amazing. But at the same time too, you go to Fortius, and if you're not good at what you do, the doors don't keep opening, right? Like you won't say it, but like obviously there's a passion and a drive, and you're very good at what you do to open that door. So kudos to you. And you say like, oh yeah, this led to like the Golden State Warriors, but like, how does that door open? Like, do you just send a resume, or like you did for your dad, you drive it up to the door? Like, how does one crack? Because the NBA is a weird thing. Like there is this fraternity thing, right? No matter what you do, we've had former coaches that have been in like come and gone. It's an interesting organization, but how does one open that door as a female working with 6'5", 7'8" males who are physically dominant humans, and like, wow, we really trust this person. Like, how does that happen? I think it's super, super dope. So I said 400 things. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I think there's a few layers to what you just said there, but
I'm trying to set it up for you. You know, the hamster's ready. Come on. Feed us, girl.
I think I talk about themes and you laugh at me. But one piece is I had a client say to me that you've got luck. And it really bothered me the way they said that because I didn't like the word luck. And so I started researching and looking into different definitions of luck. Because this client was actually like, I valued his opinion and whatnot. And so when he kind of said it, I was like, I got to understand that a little bit more. Like, so Oprah Winfrey talked about prepared about luck and perseverance beating opportunity. And so basically being ready. And so one piece I think is working hard so you are ready when opportunities arise. So I think that's one element to it. But I think another element, I talked about the no fear and kind of rank and kind of putting yourself out there a little bit sometimes. So again, fortunate that Rick
call that vulnerability on Hoop's journey. Vulnerability, yes, yeah.
But I think so Rick called and asked about coming to Fortius, and my plan was to kind of eventually own Trelaw. So that was, I was very shocked by it. It was kind of an emotional leaving there. They've done so much for me. And now I'm going to go leave and go to Fortius. And I said to Rick, I said, well, in what capacity? I can volunteer, I can do this. And he said, well, no, as a clinician. And I was surprised by it because I was still a fairly young clinician at that stage. But by Rick kind of opening that door for me there, that's where I came across Alex McKechnie. And Alex was a mentor for Rick, and Alex is a mentor for numerous different physios, as well as Rick has been. Now we have myself, Marilyn, Alex, Rick, Steph, and Courtney. So 5 or 6 physios that are all in the MBA.
Who's the girl in Brooklyn?
Steph Rizzo.
So Rizzo, I'll say her mom, maybe her mom. She was our financial lady at our school.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Adelia Rizzo.
Yeah.
So she was in charge of the books when I first started teaching at STM. And then some of our oldest teachers are like, did you know her daughter is like the physio for the Brooklyn Nets? I'm like, what?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry to cut you off. Yeah.
No. So Steph, again, I'm fortunate to have kind of been able to learn from all of these, from Steph, from Marilyn. Marilyn's with the Spurs. And so to have that network and kind of everyone kind of being from Burnaby in this area, thanks to Alex, thanks to Rick, thanks to Marilyn, everybody kind of mentoring and kind of connecting together. That brought me into that hub at Fortius, basically. And Alex would bring the Raptors there in the summertime to do different training camps. And I was working on a presentation. I was writing something and working, and Alex is very outgoing and very generous with his time. He goes and introduces himself to anybody and everybody. He's very social. And he said, what are you working on? And I told him what I was working on. I said, well, I've been an athlete, I've coached, and now being a physio, I see the game in kind of a different way a little bit, I feel like, because I know how we should move for certain muscles to work. And I know we have athletes that come in and say oh, my Achilles is sore or I have a calf strain, but we have coaches that are telling you to get up on your toes. So aligning those two things so that coaches have a little bit of an understanding of what we're talking about from a physio standpoint would be a good prevention thing. And he looked at me and he said, I'd do that talk with you. And I was like, and again, I'm a little bit fearless in that respect, that I was like, oh, you shouldn't have said that because I can be very annoying. Long story short, we have done clinics. We are still doing clinics. We have a clinic this summer, August 1st, we're going to be doing at B-Ball Nationals for coaches. So we've kind of developed a business together.
At where?
At B-Ball Nationals in Vancouver.
Up here. Nice. Yeah. At the LEC.
We're going to do it on August 1st, we're going to be doing it. So that was kind of how
you heard it, people.
That was how the whole business evolved originally, was just out of kind of a thought around kind of connecting and kind of getting more preventative and empowering coaches to kind of think outside the box a little bit on some things. So I think that's how the door opened to the MBA. Alex was the one that he brought me in. He was smart too. He had me shoot with the guys. He had me do ball handling stuff. So you talked about how does a 6'5" earn respect. He never told them I played. He just said, why don't you go play 3 up against her? And then I'd hit some shots and they were like, what's happening? So I think knowledge of the sport and being able to talk about it, and kind of showing them a little bit that you did play, I think that helps to build some of that credibility and dialogue with them for sure. But awesome. Alex, I said, I was actually upset and kind of teary and said, I need you to stop. Like, I'm a mom. I have 2 kids. I can't work in the NBA. Like, we travel, we do. I know you think this is a perfect fit and this is where I belong, but this doesn't happen. I don't know of any other female physios that are on the road that have kids. He said, come to Toronto for 10 days. If you can do that, then you can work in the NBA. He's like, a road trip is 10 days long. So if you can be away from your kids for 10 days, then you can do it. So I did that.
And you're married at this point?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I did that in 2019, the year they won. I went there in February.
Of course you did.
January, February, and shadowed them. And again, left in tears. And Alex is like, would you stop crying already? And he's like, what's the matter? What did I do? And I said, nothing. It was perfect. I loved it. I loved it too much. So that's kind of where the initial flame of the thought of it, like, he's the one that made me kind of open my ideas to it. And then Rick had heard that I'd also been talking to Alex a little bit. And he had left Fortius and taken Jerry Ramajita and some other mentors and stuff with him. And yeah, he said that he might circle back at some point, and he did circle back. So I was very, very lucky, and always grateful to Rick for all the opportunities and education that he's given. And he's doing a great job at Golden State, and I'm lucky, very lucky, to be able to work for that organization and for him under the medical and performance. So,
first question: did you get to rub elbows with Johnny Lee a bit when you were in Toronto?
Johnny Lee's great.
What a guy.
He is great. I heard a great story from Jay Triano about him, and I hadn't met Jay. That's the other part. You talked about JAMA and how many common people we know. Well, I hadn't met Jay.
Never met Jay
either.
Wow.
Just this last. So before, not during playoffs when we were playing them this year, but before we met and obviously knew a lot of people. Alex was his physio, and he was at SFU, and there was a lot of commonalities. And he told a great story about Johnny Lee and when he used to work with them, and about Canada and where jerseys should go and how jerseys should go on the table and not on the floor. And it was a great story. So
we had Johnny on when it was the bubble. Yeah. And he like got really emotional about his job and everything. So it was cool. Yeah. So tell us pardon me?
I said, yes, he's very good at what he does, and very passionate. I just got exposed to some of the passion pieces through some of the stories of Jay more so. And I haven't been around him a ton, but I've heard a lot of positive things about what he does for sure.
So we talked to a lot of people about maybe going from high school to Division I or Division I to pro, and those first few days. What are the first few days like when you walk onto the campus of the Golden State Warriors, and how do you pretend like you're feeling confident, or what's your go-to, the hamster wheel? Like, how does it go?
Yeah, I think.
Are you like a bring it on MFers, or like, what's your,
there's a lot of observing. There's definitely a lot of observing. And
because it's a unique thing. Like, what you're doing too is like, you still have to find a way, I'm guessing, to build connections and relationships. So like, maybe someone's not even hurt yet, but you kind of got to come over and be like, how are you, how are you today? Chat them up, like just give a moment. Not that they feel like annoyed by it, but sort of like you have to force yourself so that if it does come to it, I don't know, maybe I'm jumping to conclusions, but it's an interesting role in the sense of, you start that job, no one really knows you get introduced probably, but then how do you go from there? You got to really dig into the toolbox probably.
Am
I wrong?
I was fortunate. So that's what a good leader does as well. Like, so Rick, through meetings and stuff, also introduced and gave people a heads up that I was coming, that I was a coach's daughter, that she's coming from Canada. There were other Canadians there. So Carl Bergstrom was there. Jerry Ramajita was there, who's a huge mentor of mine, Jerry. So I was lucky to have that piece of it. And to be honest, I wasn't going to go anywhere in the NBA. I wasn't going to do that to my family, put them through the move. So I knew that there was a special group of people at Golden State. And so that's why I did what I did. But again, there's also incredible, especially at that organization, and I can't speak for other organizations, but their professionalism is great. They came and they make you feel welcome. So they come and they've had chats, and Rick had all those forward conversations so that somebody would come up and know what to talk to me about. And talking about basketball and your dad as a coach is an icebreaker in any scenario. And so like Steph, the first time he kind of walked by me, he's like, so you were a point guard, kind of more of a scorer or more of a assist person? What did you, so those conversations were easier because of the work that Rick did before I got there.
That's awesome. Yeah. And like, regardless of the success the Warriors have had and how they've built their, like, from an outside perspective, you get that feel. Like, I just think, like, I don't know, I follow cultures. I don't read a lot, but if I do, it's usually about leadership or sports. And so like, you just get that vibe when you hear Steve Kerr talk. You kind of understand that it filters down. Like, you kind of get the vibe of like what the Warriors are all about. And then when they get on the court and play, you're like, yeah, like it all makes sense, you know? Yeah.
Definitely. And Steve and Bob Myers and they do that. They invest in people and they care about who you are. And that was one piece that was palpable, was because they hadn't had a great season the year before with my first year. There was a cool edge and a cool hunger that was palpable on those first couple days of training camp when we were kind of there. And Steve came over and introduced himself and whatnot, but he said, look, we have another Canadian. He's like, that doesn't mean I have to like you just because you're Canadian. And Rick's brought another one in. So again, they were great and very welcoming. So
that's awesome. And so what now? Just take some time, get ready to go. What do you got here? Like 9-10 weeks? Like, are you even counting like that? Like, I'm still working. Like, so we have draft workouts and stuff now. We have shorter days and whatnot, but I'm working for the next little bit. And then I've got some time off that I'll be going back up to Vancouver to see family and bring the kids to see their friends. And then 1st. We'll be doing some clinics and stuff up there in some different formats. So awesome.
Then I'll be back down here for August, the majority of August, and then we'll start up again. But it's been nice to have a little bit of downtime and some time to reflect on things. And there's lots for me to learn, lots and lots. And so I have some goals now that there's been some time on some things that I want to get better at. And again, lots of that writing and the reflection time. One piece I think that I'm really trying to work on this year is being able to stay in the moment a little bit more. We talked about Shibumi. Shibumi means self-actualization. And so that's something that I'm fairly high in, but a negative to that can be just going on to the next thing and moving and not stopping and kind of appreciating where you are a little bit. And I think I'm trying really hard, whether that's kind of in family situation, whether that's in work, to try to just appreciate some of the opportunities that I have, which are incredible, and be grateful for them and just live in the moment and not worry about kind of future of what happens next week and all of that. So doing my best to learn and elevate and get better at what I do, and kind of trust in the process a little bit that things will fall in place as they should.
My wife travels a ton for work as well. She left Thursday and she's coming back Wednesday. She's basically been traveling every second weekend. So you obviously have a good partner too, who is there and supports. talk a little bit about women in sport and just sort of, I think it's super dope. I think it's amazing that we're in a place where you are, and, you know, you can find a man who's can take care of things when you're gone and everything's cool and whatever. But just sort of, I don't know, like we need more of this, and we're getting better. Trying to get more really great women on the podcast too, to just, you know, share their story. The WNBA is getting better. But just sort of, do you feel that? Do you sense it? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Am I off? Like, do you even think about it? Or you just wake up every day like a bulldog, like I'm going, like, you know, tell us a little bit about that and what you think.
I think I don't notice it as much, because I wouldn't say the NBA was the first piece. Like, I think even at Fortius, again, there's a lot of men in physiotherapy and
Sure.
sporting physiotherapy. So I don't notice it as much. I think it's probably an adjustment for them, to be honest. More so getting used to us, having us around, than me getting used to them, necessarily. But there are times when I'll look in the gym and there's over 40 people in it, and I'm the only female that's there. We have a great massage therapist that's on the road traveling with us, so she's part-time. We have a dietitian as well that's part-time, that's a female. So there's more to that's evolving, which is exciting and great. There's Hannah Herring, she's in our analytics department, and her and I went and played in an all-male, it's called San Quentin, a jail in San Francisco. And so we were the first females to play in that game. Hannah's young and great. She can kick my butt. And she can shoot the lights out. She's awesome. But it's super fun to scrimmage and play with her, because we do that with staff still.
Nice.
So that piece is fun to have her around as well.
How's the jumper?
Her jumper?
Yours?
Yeah. Well, I never really had a jumper, to be honest.
More of a grinder, eh? Like you're like a 12-point 10 assists. Yeah.
We don't really get off the ground too much. But it's still fun to get out and run with her, and some of the other guys and stuff too. So yeah, so I don't see it as that. I do think it's a challenge, more so that from the female standpoint, it's more the mom standpoint. One piece of balancing being away. I'm very grateful for my parents, and I know the impact they have on raising me and the opportunities they gave. And again, to be honest, it's hard to, I'm going to get a little bit,
it's okay.
Hard to find the balance of pursuing your dreams, with creating opportunities for your kids and being there and being impactful. So, my dad's been really good around kind of communicating quality, versus quantity sometimes. And I need to get better with that too, because it's hard to kind of shut off your work brain and coming in tired and stuff too. So that's one of the things I'm trying to get better at, as well as a mom, is how getting off of a flight at 2:30 in the morning and getting up for school to take them at 7 in the morning, but yet you have to go to work after that most of the day. So, anyways, there's still lots to learn in that department. They've been down here for a year now, so I'm only 1 year in. So I'm trying to be a little bit gentle with myself on the learning curve, but I know I have some stuff to learn how to balance that for sure.
I can totally, I appreciate the vulnerability. I know the last thing you wanted to do was cry on this podcast, but
I didn't fully cry. I held
you didn't. Oh, sorry. Yeah, she didn't. I never saw it. Yeah. I held it back. But I could, like, it's the same. Like, I tell my wife, I'm like, you go away for 5-6 days for work. Like, your job is not to be like epic mom. It's just your presence, you know, like I think there's a lot to be said for that. It's just you being there, and we're going to be okay while you're gone. We'll survive. But there's still, it's hard. It's hard as a mom to just let that go and think like, oh, he's probably not giving them enough strawberries or vegetables in their lunches, you know what I mean? Or just whatever the hamster wheel is saying. But, you know, also just like, you are impacting your kid's life because you're setting a prime example of being a strong, like, hardworking woman who's going for what they want, So there's more to it than just being away, and they'll be even more grateful for the times you're home and respect you for the time that you're away. So I don't know, a little bit of a twist there, but I don't know. I wouldn't beat yourself up too bad about that. I think you're sending a lot of good vibes to your kids.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's interesting for them to see the different phases that you travel through, and kids don't understand the piece. Like if we're talking about women in careers, like having a family, in my mind, takes 5 years kind of away from your career. Between being pregnant, like I was very morning sick. Like you're not creative. You're not you're not climbing the ladder or whatever in that state. You're tired from a newborn. You're pregnant, and then you have a second one. And so roughly kind of 5 years or so, it takes that, it takes that amount of time. And we talked, this whole podcast has been about basketball, and I've gotten some amazing things from basketball, from traveling across the world to my education to learning what good culture is, work habits, all those sort of things, passion, confidence. My career, I think I owe to that. I don't think I honestly would have gotten the job for Golden State. I think a piece of it was the fact I played. I think that helps quite a bit. I think at different times I lost that. So being a mom, like I totally disconnected from the basketball community. And so to come full circle with my career, to come back to basketball, being able to work in a gym where I felt comfortable, where I was crawling around as a baby, I think is a cool and neat thing. And just understanding in life that it does ebb and flow, where having kids and giving up pieces for them kind of early on, you can lose yourself a little bit. And everything I felt comfortable with sport and basketball. And if you asked people, like, again, I was treating as a physio, and I don't think I had any basketball athletes. Like I was like, what am I doing? Like I need to reconnect. I need to refocus to kind of some of my main focuses that I have in life. And basketball was a big part of me. So I kind of feel back at home with some of that, of being back in the gym. And the kids enjoy it. The kids get to be around a gym now way more than they certainly did in their early lives. Ollie and I play basketball, and it's almost been a connection piece for us,
nice.
Because he thinks it's cool, my job, and so does my daughter. So
it's a full hoops journey.
It is.
You're literally the theme of the podcast. And at the end of the day too, like, give yourself some credit. Like if you were kind of a donkey, or like not a nice person, or not good at your job, the cards wouldn't have fallen for you, So you've worked hard, you've treated people well, you've taken yourself seriously, and good things come to those who deserve it. I think, like if you treat people well and respect mentors and work hard and make connections, like usually it ends up okay. So, there's lots there.
I appreciate it. Again, and there's always conscious pieces of getting better at things, but
sure.
But I think that's another piece, is you just have to know what you don't know. And that's a big one that Rick kind of taught me, of having the confidence to say pieces that you don't know, but then working your butt off to know it and get better at it. But that's a big component of where I'm at now. I'm in a new environment, and I need to keep working and getting better, both at home with the kids and at work as well. So that's our kind of next stages and next steps.
Truth. I tell my wife all the time, like I can't believe I've been teaching for like 18 years. I'm like, what the heck? And I tell her all the time, I say, if I come home like that grumpy, crusty teacher, slap me upside the head, tell me to read a book, just sort of keep me fresh, because you're still young in your Warriors career, but you've got years. And I think it's all about growth and development, and it shouldn't end, right? Your dad's still growing and developing as a coach. He's adapting to the young women that he's coaching, and he has to, right? And so it's no different. So
my brain loves to stay curious and, like you said, lifelong learner of things. And I also like the piece you talked about with Alex, like the creativity of having core aim and being able to develop presentations. And I think I've learned that that's an important piece that my brain still needs. So I enjoy that learning piece as well. And it keeps things fresh and keeps challenging you as well.
Love it. The best part about this podcast is not everybody's had the opportunity to meet me, and I haven't been able to meet you in person. But if you know me, you know I have the body of an Adonis. But I also like a cold beer. Head to Parkside, support our guys, find them in the local government stores, whatever you got to do. If you're at a pub or a bar locally, ask if they're on tap. Give them some love. Our guy Sam and the people there have been so good to us. We can't say enough. We hope to see you at Parkside. Okay, let's do some fun stuff and get you on your way. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. We're all over the place here. Ketchup on macaroni. How do we feel about that?
I have the same answer to my dad on that one, because I don't do Kraft Dinner macaroni. We do like baked, like a casserole almost.
Oh, you like breadcrumbs and do it all? Yeah.
Different types of cheeses and layers. And that's one thing my dad can actually cook pretty good. My mom's a great cook, amazing cook. And so my dad's very lucky and I was very lucky, but my dad can do a mac and cheese. So I put fresh tomatoes on that, like my mom, instead of ketchup.
Fresh tomatoes?
No.
Like small diced, or how are we doing that?
Chunky.
Chunky?
Yeah.
Wow. I feel like that might not be bad.
It's good. It's very good. Yeah. My kids do it all the time. My kids don't do Kraft Dinner either, because again, now they've done my mom's mac and cheese. So
they know it's like, yeah. I think I saw like a meme or a GIF the other day. It was like, my treat when I was a kid was McDonald's. Now my kids' treat is like freaking steak dinner and something else. You know what I mean? Like it's just elevated, right? Okay, you and whoever you want to take, best seat in the house. What concert are we going to?
I'm gonna again probably repeat more from I'm going to do Bruce Springsteen, but it's more sentimental because my whole family, my uncles, my dad, it's a thing in the Langford family. I want my son, Ollie, to go to a Springsteen concert with his grandpa before. So it's more of a sentimental, we're going to Springsteen.
He's touring, eh?
Yeah, my dad's got it all booked up. And
of course he does.
And he's coming to San Fran. He's coming to Chase, but that means we're going to be on the road. So Ollie is hopefully going to go with my dad when they come to San Francisco.
So my mom, God rest her soul, favorite artist of all time. She had like the 4-disc, like whatever it was. And I was like, I'd love to take me and Reagan to go see Springsteen, but like $500 a pop. So I like reached out to everybody I know. I know like the head of security at Rogers Arena. I was like doing everything I can. They're like, can't budge on Springsteen, man. I'm like, shoot, like I can't take out a mortgage for that. So
yeah,
Ollie's going to love it.
Yeah.
He better.
I was just going to say,
he better
understand how important that is.
Right.
It'll be just as special for my dad. So
cool. Love it. Who have been some of the most important people in your life? I mean, you've touched on a lot, but are we missing anyone?
My kids. I think they are both very unique in who they are. And one has an abundance of energy and challenges me to be better. I think anybody that makes you kind of reflect a ton and that you want to adapt for and change how you act kind of shows how much you love them.
Wow. And very well said. And then Maddie, my other one, she's calming, and she has a presence that they both have their superpowers in different ways. But she can calm me and again, there's a lot going on. So it's interesting when you can relate to a 7-year-old and the impact that she can have on you in kind of a rock formation. It's very interesting. So yeah, definitely my kids. I think Ollie and my son Eli would get along very well. They would probably not get along because they're very similar. So yeah, I hear you, girl. Okay, it's you, 4 players. You're on the blacktop. Obviously, I'm going to guess that your dad's the coach, but if I'm wrong in that, but like, who you taking? Could be former teammates.
Anybody?
Anybody. It's your world. Like, but it's blacktop. Like, call your own. You know, like it's different out there. It's windy. You know, we're at the beach.
Whoa. And okay.
And a coach.
So I'm gonna do two. Can I cheat and do two coaches?
You can do whatever you want. It's
Steve
your
and my
episode.
dad are gonna coach. Steve and my dad are gonna coach.
Okay.
Then we're gonna go me. They can't get hurt though on the blacktop. That makes me a little bit nervous. Okay, good. So as long as they don't get hurt,
yeah,
we'll go Steph and Dre based on their 2-person game.
Okay.
Myself, Julia Wilson. Julia, I played high school, university, and junior national and university games with, so she's got to be there.
Are you the 2?
I'll give Steph a break. I'll bring the ball up because he's gonna get. He needs to save some energy.
Sure.
And I think we got to get some more Canadian blood in there. So I think we got to have 3 Canadians to 2 Americans. So Wiggs and his defense, and he's going to stretch people in a 3. So I'll take Wiggs as my last one.
I feel like Wiggs would be good on the blacktop. He'll just lock up. He'll take the best player and lock up.
And then, like I said, then we'll have 3 Canadians and 2 Americans.
All right, let's make it happen at Kit's Beach in the summer, yeah? Okay, books or movies?
I don't have time for either. I'll be perfectly honest. Like,
wow.
Like
yeah, your kids' crappy shows is what you get to watch.
Home, yeah, when I come home, I'm doing Disney stuff.
Cuddle up on the couch. Yeah.
Books wise, I'll listen to audiobooks.
Okay, let's go ahead. How about this? Your choice. You by yourself, blanket movie all time. Is there a movie? Is there something you go to?
What time of year is it? If it's Christmas,
yeah,
we're doing Holiday or Love Actually.
Okay.
If it's just any time, I quite like Remember the Titans or Blindside. Like both of those are.
Remember the Titan. Left great. Side. Strong side. Great movie.
Yeah. And Blindside. So those are probably.
You got it in you. You got it in you. I like though you're seasonal. That's fair. Do you watch those crappy like Hallmark?
Since I've started, I honestly don't watch a ton of shows. Like I put the kids to bed and I go to sleep and then I wake up and I repeat. I don't watch. I'm trying to.
You're not missing
turn my
much.
brain off. Well, to turn my brain off, I'm actually trying to do some Netflix episodes. To be honest, in the last week, it makes me sleep better to just kind of chill a little bit.
Sure.
So I'm trying to do that, but I haven't done a ton of TV at all.
Fair. Okay. You're feeling sorry for yourself and munchy. You go to get a bag of chips. What are you grabbing?
I always do regular chips.
Does regular mean like plain?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's
just
more
salted.
Yeah. It's more about the dip. Like it's like just the regular for the dip part is more my.
So what's the go-to dip? We had hell of a good dip.
We used to do that a lot in university. But I like the Asiago artichoke spinach dip. Like Costco has that one. And it's warm. Like you heat it up and then the cheese melt. That's probably my go-to.
And you can also do that with like some little like crispy sort of healthier option than chips too.
Veggie. Probably. Yeah, I'll do that with veggies.
Yeah. Love it. All right. Last question. Thank you for doing this. Who would you like to see on a hoops journey? But you have to help us get them on. So who's out there? Good story. Doesn't matter. Someone that would be willing to chop it up with us that won't take a year and a half.
I don't know.
I kid.
I was gonna say Alex McKechnie. It was the first one that I was gonna say. It might take him a bit to do it as well.
Mm-hmm. As you can tell, we're patient.
You are patient.
Yeah, we're patient here on a hoops journey. Yeah,
I got to know you better across the time.
True.
Anyway. Sure.
It's true. It's true. I got a video call from you after the White House. I was like, sheesh, did that really just happen? You're like, I'm so sorry. We'll make it happen. I'm like, you're just trying to let me know that you were at the White House. That's cool.
No, I wasn't. It's like lists of things that you feel guilty that you haven't done. And it's like, oh,
no.
But yeah, I'll try to help with the Alex front. He likes to tell stories for sure.
And I have a buddy who's 3 years younger than me, and he'll never forget. He went to Centennial one day in the summer for an open run, and Shaquille O'Neal showed up. Yeah. And he got to play like open gym with Shaquille O'Neal.
That's cool.
Because McKechnie was working with him, right? So super cool. That'd be awesome. Thoughts, last reflections. I think your story is so cool. I think it's amazing. You're living, as exhausting as it is at times, probably sometimes too, on the bus ride back to the airport, you must be like, am I really surrounded by these people? And so keep working hard and keep doing you, keep representing for yourself, and nothing but continued success. But any last thoughts or, reflections or anything you want to let the people know?
I think we covered a lot.
We did.
If anybody knows me, I do tend to talk people's ear off sometimes. For those people that will listen. No, I appreciate being asked to do this. What you've created is very cool. Like you said, you have so many episodes and you're great at what you do and letting people tell their stories in different ways. So thank you. Thank you for bringing the basketball community together in the way that you've brought us together. I think that's very cool what you're doing. So keep up what you're doing. And yeah, thank you. I had some fun chatting with you, and I'm glad we've connected off of this, and we'll hopefully keep in touch. And yeah. So thank you.
I'll see you August 1st.
Nice. Yeah.
How am I not going to come say hi? Come on now.
For sure. Come say hi. It'll be good. We've got a good plan together to help present and stuff. And it'll be great to get physio minds together with coaches and collaborate and connect that community. Cause that's a big passion for both Alex and I is the reason why we did Coream is to connect, to help elevate youth athlete development essentially and give tools to people to help youth athletes succeed. Sport's important for people. We believe sport's important for lifelong skills. I've benefited from it amazingly. You have. And so anything we can do to help the longevity and help it stay fun for kids is something super cool. So that's what we're going to be kind of dealing with on August 1st. So yeah, it'll be awesome to see you.
I'm going to message you. I need a new dynamic warm up.
Let's do it.
Because ours are boring as crap. Anyways, amazing episode. Thank you so much. So many great takeaways. Thank you to our sponsors, and we will see you on the next one.